Beautiful people. So today I'm going to do a little bit of a beginner's course of astrology. So most of you probably have heard about a birth chart, also known as a natal chart, but I just wanted to take this time to explain what that is to people who might be like, looking at my posts on Instagram or other people's posts on Instagram, or just hearing about astrology in general and hearing all this stuff about your chart and aspects and your moon sign and your houses and just be totally confused. So I just wanted to sort of break it down, explain what is a birth chart, what does it all mean, why do you need to look beyond your sun sign? And for people that already know this information, you might actually pick up a few things you didn't know or just kind of get a refresher on what it all means. So it might be nice to listen to even if you're not a beginner. Anyways, let's get into it. So your birth chart is basically a map of the sky when you were born, when you took your first breath as a human being on Earth. So, you grow up knowing about your sun sign, but there is so much more to astrology than your sun sign. And that's why, if you're an Aries and your friends an Aries, or your siblings an Aries, or your cousins an Aries, or someone is an Aries, and you're like, that person is so much different than me. I don't get it. I don't believe in astrology because we're too different. You can't just, put people into 12 different categories, and that's completely false because each individual birth chart is unique. Unless you're born at the exact same time as someone at the exact same place, same moment, which is why twins, have the same birth chart. But other than that, your birth chart is totally unique. There can be similarities, but this is why astrology is amazing, and this is why I love it, and this is why a lot of people love it, because first of all, it's about being an individual. It's not about being categorized. It's about being you and being unique. And this is the other reason why having an Instagram page for astrology, or anything that is in any way generic about astrology, will never really tell you what you need to know. And that is why you have to book readings with an actual astrologer, because that's the only person that's the only way you can really know the intricacies of your chart personally. There's no generic thing on the internet that can tell you, that can break your birth chart down like an astrologer. Or, you do your own studying, of course, obviously. But each person is unique. Each birth chart is unique. So, okay, so you're born, you have a map of the sky, and it's basically like you take your first breath and that map is imprinted on you. So your sun sign is, where the sun, the constellation that the sun was in, which is why it is the sign that you are told that you are. It is a sign that you know, because obviously the sun is the brightest planet, not planet, celestial body. It's the brightest thing. It's the part of yourself that is the brightest. It is like your ego, your personality. So the reason that sun sign astrology is so well known is because that's what you are likely to relate to on the most basic level, because it appeals to your ego. So you're like, oh yeah, that's me. It's your personality. It's like who you are, and it is very valid, and you will always be your sun sign. That is who you are. But then we have your moon sign. So that is whatever zodiac constellation the moon was in when you were born. And that is much more deep, much more like really, really who you are. Because if you think about it, the closest body to the earth is the moon. It's the closest thing we have to the earth. And therefore it is the closest to you and closest to who you are. It is the most deeply affected planet, celestial body for you. And you know, the moon rules the tides on Earth. It pulls at the tides of the ocean, and we are 70% water. So therefore, the moon really has that emotional effect on us. You know, I feel like the water that we are comprised of is our emotions. That's why when we cry, we produce water, we produce tears. It's emotion, it's the ocean, it's emotion. And the moon is really what signifies that within you. So very, very important to know your moon sign. And then we have Mercury, which is your thought process, is your communication. It's like how you think rationally, where your moon is like the emotions that just, you know, come out of you and are happening within you, your soul. But your Mercury is the one that sort of processes it and, you know, turns it into language and turns it into something you can communicate. And a lot of times your Mercury can be how you speak. To me, I feel like what you choose to actually say and sort of the energy you project when you communicate, especially if you're getting a little heated or if you're involved in anything that involves passion, that would be kind of more your Mars. But your Mercury is the transcript. You know, your Mercury is the thing that's typing it out in your brain. But like, for example, you know, if you have, okay, let's say if you have an Aries Mercury, you know, the thoughts that are being typed out are Aries. And if you have like a Leo Mars, you're going to be very like fiery with how you speak those Aries thoughts. But if you have like a Taurus Mars or a Scorpio Mars or a Cancer Mars, you're going to be a little more reserved. Even though you still have those Aries thoughts, you're not going to, Virgo Mars, you know, you're not going to maybe say as much that you would say with like a more outgoing Mars. I skipped ahead to Mars. In between those two planets of Mercury and Mars is Venus. And Venus is your love planet. It is how you are in relationships. It is what you value in relationships, the kind of relationship you want to have, and naturally just sort of how you go about relationships. Your heart, your emotions and your feelings can say one thing as your moon, but how you actually express that love, how you actually, you know, go about that love is more your Venus. And it is also, it represents the feminine. So both, you know, for males and females, or, you know, any person, non-binary, anything, that is sort of more of the feminine energy would be Venus. So, you know, it's sort of like your most feminine side, like someone who has a Pisces Venus, both, you know, any gender, is going to be maybe a little bit more, I don't want to say classically feminine, but just a little bit more of that sort of doe-eyed, you know, mermaid sort of femininity, whereas, you know, someone who has like an Aries Venus is gonna be much more sort of masculine and kind of warlike in their femininity. So it's just different, all different types of, you know, feminine energy. But it can also represent like your friendships that are platonic, and sort of just your most charming traits, like the part of you that's very attractive in a beautiful way, not in necessarily a sexual way. Mars is more sexual. The energy of Mars is very hot, very heavy, definitely very sexual. It represents your sex drive, it represents, like I said earlier, your more fierce communication, definitely how you argue. God, like Mars comes out 100% when you're arguing. It's the god of war. It's the masculine energy. So that really comes out when you're arguing. And you can say, like, your sun sign is still there. Your Mercury is kind of writing the script. Your moon sign gets impassioned, but your Mars is going to drive that point home. Or, you know, if you have a Pisces Mars, just like give up and go cry and seek revenge or something. I don't know. But okay, so those are your personal planets. Those are the planets that are more, you know, true to who you are. But yeah, okay, so I'm not going to get into all the other planets. Maybe I'll do that another time. But, you know, okay, so you have all your personal planets. You have all your planets that affect your personality differently, but you also have them in houses. And where they are in the house is also different. So the houses are, it starts with your rising. So your ascendant is, oh, I forgot to mention your ascendant. Okay, so that is what zodiac constellation was on the horizon when you were born. And it sort of starts your chart. Your rising is also very important because it is how you look, it is how you are perceived by people when they first meet you, it is the mask you wear, but more than that, it is also, I believe, who you want to be, who you aspire to be, and sort of the trajectory of your life. It's sort of like the like timeline of your life is sort of determined by your rising, and just in general, sort of the overview of who you are and the overview of your life is very much your rising. And you hold it, even though it's sort of a mask that you can take off with people that you know, you still hold your rising as like a cape on you at all times. Can kind of forget that it's there for like a while if you're with someone really intimate, but it's always there. You never really let it go. So your rising is very important, but so your houses start at your ascendant, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And where your planets are in these houses, which planets are in which houses, has also a profound effect on how you manifest the energies of those signs. So they'll be in, the planet will be in a sign and it will be in a house. So both of those things are very important to know. We also have aspects. So if you have a lot of planets that were right near each other when you were born, like, you know, if you have like a Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, okay, which I know someone who has that, except not Mars, but you have a lot of condensed energy in one sign, those are most likely going to be conjunctions. There's going to be conjunctions. So that energy is really condensed. That energy is really strong and like forceful. It's like, you know, it's like if you're going to fight someone and you have a bunch of people right there having your back on your team, like that's a conjunction. You're like ready to go. Okay. So it can be good and bad. Then we have trine, which are the triangle aspects. Those are harmonious. Those are going to be very easy. The energy that flows between the two planets is going to be an easy energy. It's going to be nice energy. It's not as strong as like some of the other aspects, but it's harmonious. It's chill. It's like good. You got a good thing going on with you, and the trine, whatever the two planets are, has like a good, yeah, I see you, I get you, okay. And then we have oppositions, which are like polarities. So like one side of the chart and the other side of the chart, the planets are in opposition. This can be difficult because it's like a really black and white, back and forth, day and night. And they can sometimes work together, and they can sometimes, it's sort of like a magnet. It's like they either repel or they... so that energy can be very back and forth to deal with, and it can sort of make this constant, like, just weighing. And then we have squares, which are like a 90-degree angle between two planets, and that is a harsh energy. And the thing about squares you have to know is that it can be difficult, it can be a hard energy, but it can also be strong, it can also be powerful and intense, and sometimes you need a little bit of that, you need a little bit of that square energy. It's not always bad. You can use it, but it just makes things a little bit more like tense. Okay, so I want to talk more about the birth chart, but I'll maybe make a second video getting more into some stuff, but you just really need to look into it because there's so much to learn and so much to know. And thank you guys for watching. I hope that helped you understand your birth chart a little bit more.